I'm Patrick Bailey with IQlist. Today is May 11th, 2022, and in this video I'm going to show off some tweaks I made to the MakerBot T-Rex skull. I added a thread. Okay, so here is the T-Rex skull, but with threads. So I'll go over some more details here, but we'll just show it right here, see how well it looks in the light. See if you can angle it well enough. There we go. You can see there's threads in there. So what I did is I already posted one of these that kind of filled in the hole that they put in there a long time ago. So there's one that's just kind of a nub there. There's nothing there. Then I'm putting this one up, which is up now, that has the threads, because I have my own plans, but other people might have plans too, where I want to remake the stand, but this time I want to thread it in. So this is part of what I'm working on right now. I haven't posted this. As of this moment, I haven't posted this, but it might be up there when this video actually releases. You can see I got thread down here too. So my idea is I'm redesigning a new stand, which I actually already posted some pictures of that. So if you look on the community tab on YouTube on my channel, you'll see some of the pictures there. So the idea is, you know, boom, boom, we can put that in there, and I'll put it in the stand and thread it in there and hold it. And I think when it gets done, it'll look pretty cool. But also it opens up the possibility for other ideas. Since you can thread it in there, I think there's some other things you can do. Like you could make, I don't know, what do you call that? Statue? Trophy, like a trophy statue. Maybe you can make a plaque and hook something into the thread and then mount it like that. I'm also hoping to do, at some point we'll do a bigger one, but in pieces, and do the same thing with the thread. So I hope that's going to work out. Also, I think, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I did take the original skull. I didn't take it. Well, I tried to, but somebody else took it and actually fixed all the geometry. But I actually increased the size a little bit. This is pretty much the maximum size you get on a Prusa Mini. So I maximized the size before I put the thread in there on a Prusa Mini, and I'm calling it good for this guy. And at some point when I do make a giant one, what I'm going to do is not just make a giant one and resize it. If you resize it, the threads might work just fine, but when I resize it and make a giant one, I'm going to make new threads. Like if I make a 300% bigger one, I'll go on Fusion 360 and make a 300% bigger thread and then reapply the thread, because I think that's a better way to do it than just to size it so that you get an accurate bolt, because this is, I don't have the number in my head, but I'll talk about this coming up here in a second, but this is an exact size bolt. So I could go out and get a metal bolt or whatever I want if I need to, and it'll work. I can go to the hardware store, get a matching bolt, matching thread, and it'll work. Well, you know, I may have to go redo that. Maybe because I just chose a good bolt size, but maybe I should go to the, you know, maybe I should follow up with that. Maybe I should go to Home Depot and find out what a common bolt is and use that. I just used what came up in Fusion 360, which is fine for 3D printing, but might not be so good for bolts. You can get a bolt, but it might not be so common as to find it at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. A thought for another day. But anyway, let's go over the numbers and talk some more about it. Okay, let's go over some URLs and then go over the numbers, and then we'll talk about a few things. So here, the original one, if you're not familiar with it, was made by MakerBot a long time ago, 2014. And for the time, even for now, if someone made this design right now, you'd be like, brilliant. This is a great tool, the way they made it, and it hooks in. It's just, and it prints really, really well the way it does. I just wish, maybe there's some out there, but the only thing that would be nicer is to have additional skulls done similarly, like a Triceratops or whatever. There'd be a Velociraptor. Is there any way, and I may start looking into this. I'm not a sculptor. I can't sculpt. But anyway, I could take an existing design and kind of apply some of the Printables on here where you can print in such a way where you might lose a little bit of the perfection. And they did lose a little bit of the perfection if someone was being real anal. It's not exactly a scale, but it's 95% of the way there. But also have it just hook onto the jaw. It's just brilliant. So it's just brilliant. It's always a big winner at the Homeschool Conference to go show that off. In fact, I need to go try to print out an extra big one. There's another group there, several groups who, since the Homeschool Conference, there's people who are teaching paleontology. There's a couple of people, I've given them skulls, but I haven't given them a big one. It'd be just nice to gift them a big one to put on their display because they would love it. Anyway, great. Check it out. And then a couple of things I put on Printables. Here's the one where I just did it compatible. I took the compatible one that was made, I shouldn't say compatible, one that was fixed so that I could tweak it in OpenScad, and Britt Scott did that work. Thank you, Britt. Now this one just has a nub. So if you just want nothing with a nub, you don't need a thread, you can go grab this one and use it. Then here's the one with the thread. So there's the thread, kind of emphasizing right there. Now here are just the files. There's no OpenScad here. If you want the OpenScad, you can go grab this. However, kind of be aware that the other files I'm using aren't out there. I don't want to confuse people. So you could probably try to recreate your own files in Fusion 360, because really we're taking the basic skull that's fixed, removing a piece, and then adding a piece in that I made in Fusion 360 for the thread. So more on that in a bit. And the last thing, and I kind of left that last little bit, and I went, you know, am I using a common bolt or common enough? Because there's all kinds of crazy bolts and sizes and threads and all kinds of stuff. You can get crazy about it. And they just might be rare or hard to get a hold of. So I said, if I can get a hold of this at Home Depot, I'm good to go. So if you're familiar with Home Depot or Lowe's, you'll have all the bolts and nuts out there on the wall, and you can get to them just fine. But also, if something's a little bit bigger, a little bit, I don't want to say unusual, but not quite what people use most of the time, they have these drawers back there. You pull these drawers out. And so that's where I found this one. I was like, okay, cool. So I found, here's a link to what I actually bought. That picture actually isn't correct, but it's close. So here it actually is in here, and it screws in just fine. So I bought it. So it's not a unusual size. You can get a hold of it. So I just wanted to prove that that could happen. In fact, we'll just show that real quick. I can thread that bad boy in. I got no plans on using a metal thing, but just to show that you could. You know, I was using a relatively common bolt. If you can buy it at Home Depot, it's common enough. Okay, with that, let's go over the numbers. So to do just the skull, just to do the top part, the skull part, it took 19 hours and 7 minutes. It took 17.5 central electricity, and it weighs 0.13 kilograms. At $20 per kilogram comes out to $2.60 for the material. So all in, for the top, $2.78. Now, for the jaw, there we go, boom. It took 7 hours and 19 minutes to print. It took 7.6 central electricity, and it weighs 0.05 kilograms. At $20 per kilogram, comes out to $1. And total on that's $1.08 to print this guy out. So not too bad. Now, if you add everything up, just for the skull, it's 26 hours and 26 minutes to print. It's 25.1 central electricity, and it altogether weighs 0.18 kilograms, and at $20 per kilogram, it's $3.68. So all in, $3.86 to print this whole guy. So not too bad. I printed a lot of these out before. I didn't really calculate it before, but I just like this model. And also, just to note, for those who might be purist, this model, the one I made, is slightly bigger than the original. I kind of wanted to go within a margin of safety, as big as I could go on the Prusa Mini. Technically, you could go slightly bigger, but So this is actually 20% bigger than the original model. And I kind of like the size. I think it's a good size. And on a side note, I'm still working on this. I haven't posted it yet, but by the time this video gets out there, it's probably be posted. I am working on a stand. So I've already posted some comments on this and some posts, and this is coming soon, so you can thread that in there and kind of get it accurate. So it's probably, by the time this video is out, it's probably already out there. So go check it out if you want a whole thing. And I think that's going to be pretty cool at the conference. I think people are going to snag that up. Okay, I guess last thing, let's see. OpenScad. If you're curious about the OpenScad, so here I commented a few things out. So here is Britt Scott's fixed version that I can edit. So you can see here's the normal version with the fix that has this little keyhole in here, so you could mount it in the other one. And I kind of want to get rid of that. So the first thing I did is down here in the skull section, here's this, I'm doing this different. So there's that, and here's this hole. I'm going to remove this cylinder. So if okay, come on, there we go. Bring that back in. I'm just making a big cavity there. So I kind of cleaned it out so I could add stuff back in later. And the next thing I did is I have this filler. So here I have, there's no one, scale 1.2, put in this filler. Or I lost access to my keyboard, what's going on? My keyboard went wonky. Anyway, I can probably just get by. Okay, so there's the filler. And that filler, what I'm doing basically is I'm making a cylinder that expands out, because you're never, there's no way, I'm not a sculptor, there's no way in heck I'm going to get this perfectly, smoothly, exactly like it was. So I just said, I can't do that, so we'll just kind of compensate and just make a big, nice, smooth, expanding cylinder there. And the last thing is we're adding in the threads, and boom, we add those threads in. And so that was all made in Fusion 360. It's a big old, basically you take a big cylinder and a smaller cylinder, extrude the whole thing, and then you thread the inside and put it in, and you're good to go. So that is that. So that is all this fun, joy, threadedness. And I think there's some other ideas people can do with this. I think if you have this threaded, it makes it easier to attach it to other things, like maybe even making some kind of wall mount things or something, or make a bigger one. Also, I got it right here. So if I didn't say it again, I'll say it again here. So that thread in there is an M12 by 1.75 6H. So that's exactly what it is. Also, you can see in the show notes with the Home Depot to get the exact thread size. So you can repeat that if you want to 3D print something, so you can mount it on or do something like that. So M12, 1.75 6H. Okay, let's just show you how to do it real quickly in OpenScad. In Fusion 360. So here I'll just say new component. I'll just call this bolt. We'll make a little quick bolt here. Bring back that origin. I like my layout grid. Right click there, say create a sketch. Go look at the top here, hit S for my shortcut keys. And I got my circle. Press there, and I'll say enter 12, so I want 12 millimeters. I'll come down here, hit S again, choose my circle, and then do 12.2. Let's say 14. And we'll finish sketch. Go over that ring here, press Q, and I'm not going to get this all accurate, like exactly how I did it, but I'll just say 15 for argument's sake. Now I'm in the three-dimensional world. I hit S for my shortcuts, and here's my 3D shortcuts. I'll choose thread. Now if you don't have these tools up here, you can search for anything, and then once you find it, you click this up button, it'll add it to your shortcuts. So these are my shortcuts. Your shortcuts may be different. Click on thread, click there, and then I want to click on model because I want it to actually be there, not just a picture. And you'll see it kind of chooses the default. 12 millimeters, 12 by 1.75, 6H. It's exactly what I want. I'll hit OK. And one thing I tend to do with 3D printing is we're not as tight a tolerance, so I select this plane of the screw going down, hit Q for press pull, and do -0.2. That makes it a little more loosey-goosey, and it actually seems to work pretty well for 3D printing. And I also do it on the other side too. Now sometimes I go a little bit higher, like a -0.3 or -0.4 if I have a bigger and bigger thread. But 0.2 seems to be working, up to probably about 10 or 15 millimeter size. There you go. So there you go. Now that I have that, I'd right click on this, save as a mesh. There I go, and bring it in the OpenScad. Now, I'd also probably want to make a bolt. So I can say, go here, say new component. I'll just call it, I should have called this, well, anyway, that was a thread. I didn't name that right. So I'll name this one bolt. Let me go rename this thread, or inner thread. Now you don't have to name them, but it does make it convenient. So if I right click on this and save as a mesh, and I hit OK, it'll actually use that name. So it saves you a few seconds, so rather than trying to type the name out as you want. Okay, so bolt, I'll hide that one, select that one, do the origin, right click, create sketch, S, and I'll say inner diameter, I'll say 12, hit S, and I'll say, I like an inscribed polygon, so I'll hit that, come out here, and I'll say 7.5, maybe bigger than that, I'll say 12, boom. And then I'll hit finish sketch, and I'll do this, Q, press pull, and we'll say 20, it's not accurate. Now when you do that, your sketches seem to disappear, so I'll bring back my sketch, press Q on this one, say 10, now I'm going to say 8. Boom. Now I got what looks like a bolt. Hit S, choose my thread, select that, modeled, make sure that's 12, 1.75, good. Hit OK. zoom in, select that, Q, press pull, -0.2, done. And then of course, it's not exactly the bolt I made, but you get the idea. And I can right click and save that. There you go. So that's basically what I did. So there you go. There's a threaded T-Rex skull. Do with it as you want. So there's I think there's some other modifications people can make, like a stand or a different kind of stand, or maybe trying to figure out how to do I am working on one that's going to be bigger. Probably about twice as big as what this one is, or 2.4. I'm still working through the details. I wanted to see how can I get to the next size with the fewest amounts of print on the i3 Mark III or the Prusa Mini. I'm trying to figure that out, because I don't need a giant one, but I do have a big one. I want to make a bigger one. Do I make a stand for that? Do I make a bigger thread for that? Don't know. Working through all that. But anyway, it's out there. Download it, print it out, enjoy it. It's a real cool print, especially with the stand. I think it's going to be a winner at the Homeschool Conference. So with that, let's wrap this up with a reminder that 3D printing is an engineering adventure that you're on. You can develop your skills and knowledge, and you can take this in so many ways. You can build a business out of this, you can teach others, and you can make some amazing designs. So design it, engineer it. The Homeschool Conference is coming up, and I'm getting ready. I have had a 3D printing booth there every year for several years now, trying to preach and get out the word that every homeschool needs a 3D printer. I think I've been effective in that. I also sell some 3D printed stuff there to help pay for the booth. To be honest, I never break even, but I have a great time. The upcoming Homeschool Conference takes place on Father's Day weekend. In fact, every past one has taken place on Father's Day weekend. This will be the first year I've been smart enough to make some Father's Day prints to sell. There's a reason I don't own a business, obvious things like this on how to make money by properly anticipating the needs and serving people. Well, it just goes over my head all too often. But this year, I'm ready for Father's Day for the first time.